It was my stepfather and my mother and my brother. And yes, we were a crime family. We traveled around America and committed our crimes. You have to understand that Bill was a bit of a genius criminal in the world of forgery and burglary, and he taught all that to me. He educated me. He would show me a diagram on a piece of paper of the inner workings of a T-handle safe or an L-handle safe. He can forge the name like it's his. He can just write it, and people watch that. And he can forge it just like it is. He was incredibly clever with that. And he practiced it, he'd work at it. He'd be in the room and there with the light on and glasses and just looking and before you know it, he had that down. Once he was satisfied, and he'd make my mother do the same thing. So you have to understand Bill, my stepfather. He really was obsessed with controlling me. I was his bread and butter. I mean, what I was doing, I did everything for him. And he had me in a spot where all I cared about was making him happy. He was a drug addict. He used morphine, heroin, paregoric. He used opiates. And this is the kind of guy Bill was. He would not associate with drug addicts. He would not go to those areas and buy dope. He didn't want anything to do with them. So with that whole trip, he would sit me down when my brother and my mother were not there, and sit me down, and he'd store up these flashcards, 3x4 flashcards. It would say morphine, Dilaudid, Demerol, codeine, cocaine, Panapom, new morphine. I'm thinking of all the drugs I had to memorize. Morphine hydrochloride, cocaine hydrochloride, paregoric. Paregoric can burn your veins up, but he didn't care. And that was a problem for me because he made me stand there every time and hold the tourniquet. I had to hold it, and if I jerked, he would slap me and knock me around. And he'd try to pick around trying to find a vein in his hand, and he was always looking for veins, man. And one time he found one on his thumb. Anyway, he was a drug addict. And he made me memorize every narcotic in case I ever saw it, get it. My job was he would take me in the morning to an industrial site. And I would venture into all of them. I would walk through all day long, walking in and out of these places. And I would search out their booking office. Once I found it, I would just walk in there, and there was always somewhere to sit, and I would just sit down. And of course, someone's going to ask me what I'm doing there, and I would tell them that my father was a traveling salesman, and I went to a military academy, and I was enjoying the day with my dad, and he would be here in just a minute. He told me to wait for him. But let me tell you, in an office like that, all day long, they go in and out of the safe. So me sitting in a chair, I can see everything that's in the safe. The safe is open. I was educated, and I could look in the safe and see right where the payroll checks were. What I would do is wait for the lady, whoever she is. I mean, there's usually just one person in there, and I would wait for her to go to the bathroom or just leave the room for a minute. When they left the room I would sprint over to the safe, grab that box, lift out a bunch of them, and take 10 or 15 of them out of the middle. And so when he decided to actually start cashing the checks, I mean, it was like 2 or 3 weeks of non-stop check cashing, and then they'd stop. The other thing that I did was I stole identification. Places like bakeries They change out of their clothes and they change into white clothing. And so when they do, they hang their clothing, they hang their pants and their wallet and everything in their locker. Well, I was, I would sneak into that locker room, and I could pick any lock in that room. I had a key ring full of picks, and basically they were spring locks, and they were easy to pick. So I would steal the wallets out of men's pants. The rule with Bill was you can keep all the money, just give me the ID. Yeah, okay. There's usually not a lot of money in their wallet, but it was mine. When money started to manifest, I got 10%. If they cash a check for $280, I got 28 bucks. And I was 13, 14 years old. And that was a lot of money in 1961 when we were doing this. And I had to steal ID from my mother, so I had to get female ID. I usually was more successful in laundromats, where women were doing their laundry. I'd steal their wallet, easy, no problem. They're busy, preoccupied, and there it is in their purse, And I always had to make a calculated, bold move, but I was good at it. I would go to the amusement parks and people sitting, watching like a race car or anything like that. I'd go into the bleachers underneath and creep up and get in their purse and get their wallet. They were watching the race car. I was down there, and it was like a little demon under there doing stuff. I had skill, and it was all for the family business.